I want to talk about very briefly how we in Millia came about to promote participatory research and what it has meant in terms of our work in the communities as well as in terms of our work in engaging institutions of higher education. Nearly 35 years ago, the experience that I had with indigenous people and rural peasants in southern Rajasthan, in district of Udaipur, I had gone there with the intention of doing an honest dissertation fieldwork, as many others have done. And in doing that, I was trying to understand the basic problem of how development was not reaching out to the people. By that time, I had acquired a reasonably higher order educational qualification. My first degree is in electronics engineering from Institute of Technology, Kanpur. I had an MBA from Institute of Management, Calcutta. I was appointed a lecturer at Institute of Management, Calcutta, and I had finished the coursework for my PhD. So I was pretty well qualified in academic terms. However, the year that I spent in rural Rajasthan, I realized three things for which academia had not prepared me. The first thing I realized that illiteracy does not equate itself to ignorance. That the local farmers may be illiterate, but they were extremely knowledgeable. And they were so very knowledgeable in many areas which required functionality in that context. And I found myself very dysfunctional in that context because I wasn't prepared for that context. I was prepared for a more urban, more comfortable, more physically provided context. The second thing that I learned in that 1 year was that the way knowledge was transmitted over generations, the knowledge about seeds, about water harvesting, knowledge about use of local material for producing local implements, that knowledge was not necessarily codified or written in books, but that was a living knowledge, that it was not just what has come to be called stereotypes sometimes, but it was a knowledge which was getting refined and refined in practice and transmitted over a period of time. And the third thing that I learned is that the knowledge which is available in local communities somehow is not reaching or is not heard or not listened to by those who make policies, programs for their well-being, their improvement in development. So I found a real disconnect between the knowledge of those who are making policies and programs for the benefit of others and the knowledge of those, experience of those, the priorities of those for whose benefit these programs were designed. So it was this disconnect which began to encourage me to explore the link between people's own knowledge and experience and that which is acquired through a more rigorous, what has come to be known as a scientific pursuit.
An educational institution like Queen's, along with the University of Western Ontario, now called Western University, they were engaged with trying to build the opportunities for people who were living on reserves. And while I was there, we managed to find employment. We had an industrial park on the reserve, and we built a variety of different types of institutions. Currently now there's a casino on the reserve, and of course the reserve is very prosperous because of the casino. But what was interesting, I still doesn't solve the problems that you have. What was interesting on the reserve is that we provided employment for about 50 people, but all those people working were women. Okay? It was very hard to find employment for the men on the reserve because they just didn't want to, quite frankly, didn't want to do it.
Working to make a difference in the civic life of our communities and developing the combination of knowledge, skills, values, and motivation to make that difference. And that's what the University of Victoria is about, and that is what this chair is about. Examples of our commitment to civic engagement abound, both locally in the Victoria and British Columbia environment, but also internationally. So for example, we participate in the Science Without Borders project out of Brazil. We play a role in the Emerging Leaders of the Americas program. In Africa, Dr. Alan Pence holds the UNESCO Chair in Early Childhood Education and Development and has set up what's known as the Early Childhood Development Virtual University, where teachers in refugee camps across Africa are learning from the University of Victoria how to support early childhood development in those conditions. And our commitment to civic engagement has been supported over a number of years through a close association with Korea.
This UNESCO Chair on Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility in Higher Education has been mandated by UNESCO, as the papers say, to promote the practice of community-based research with a view to strengthen the linkages between communities and institutions of higher education. It's truly a unique and innovative South-North partnership between academia and civil society, and I wish to commend both the University of Victoria as well as PRIA, Society for Participatory Research in Asia, for having taken this initiative to launch the UNESCO Chair on a subject of a tremendous contemporary relevance. Well, that said, friends, let me say that education is very important at the current stage of our economy. The 12th five-year plan has just been formulated and I was assisted by many of you here, particularly on the education sector. And where it stands is this: the Planning Commission has finalized the 12th five-year plan. At our end, it has been approved by the Union Cabinet of Ministers, and on 27th this month, it would be put to the final test. That would be the meeting of the National Development Council. National Development Council in our country is the highest policy-making body where all the cabinet ministers and chief ministers of all states are present. So that's a big gathering on 27th this month. They will meet and they will discuss. Single point agenda is the 12th five-year plan, and we are hoping that they will put a seal of approval on the 12th five-year plan.
Right on behalf of PRIA and its chair, and Sheila Patel, as well as the co-chairs Dr. Pat Hall and Dr. Rajesh Tandon, it's an opportunity to thank each of you and appreciate every one of you for being here and making this launch and this event possible.
Okay, we'll trade places.
Yes.
Martha and
I guess it has to do with us.
Oh, sorry. We can engage
Join us.
for one day.
Thank you.